Hey, it's Victor Devon, and you're listening to We Burlesque, the podcast. Thank you to the Patreon supporters Alex, Amy, Andrea, Bo, Doll, Drew, Kelly, Princess Chris, Rob, Rocco, Ruthless Retribution, and Stormageddon. Your support means the world to me. Thank you so much. This is We Burlesque, the podcast. I'm your host, Victor Devon, and I am in Riverside, California, on a Zoom call with a performer from Minneapolis, presently.
Hey, booty moon pies, I gotta go. Love you. Love you, bye. That's my partner, Mark.
Oh, he's Mark as well?
Yes.
That's confusing.
Well, yes, his first name is M-A-R-K. So it's funny because, like, after a while we started dating, I realized technically, like, because you know how performers, their partners end up getting their significant other's last name, like, Mr. Falls,
yes,
or Mr. Tann. So he'd be like Mr. Mark, but it'd be like Mark. It would be weird.
Mr. DeMarc. How about Mr. DeMarc?
Yeah,
Mark DeMarc.
We name him Biker Daddy. Is what the community is.
I mean, frankly, I've seen him for half a second, and I think that's appropriate.
Yes.
And with me, I have a performer from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I have Trè da Marc. Hello, hello.
Hello. Welcome from the Twin Titties.
Ooh. Have you always been in Minneapolis?
I have always grown up. I'm not born here, but I've always grown up here. So I'm like since elementary school on, but I'm not natively born here, but I consider it my hometown since I've been here since I've been like 5. So
absolutely. May I ask where your roots come from?
Originally my parents met in the army in like Germany, and then I was born on an army base in Pulaski, Missouri.
Oh.
And then lived in Oklahoma for a while because that's where my mom, like, after my mom was stationed back in the United States, because I was living with my grandmother at the time in Chicago. That's her side. My mom's side of the family was in Chicago. So stationed there, and then moved to Oklahoma. And then like my mom and my stepdad got married, or they had my sister, got married, and then they got divorced. So we moved to Minneapolis.
Oh, I see.
There's
a number of burlesquers who are self-proclaimed army brats. Is that something you identify with? Did you have to travel around and...
I didn't have to travel around as an army brat. I just stayed in Fort Sill, which was in Lawton, Oklahoma.
Okay.
And so we were stationed at that base. So like my mom, my dad, my stepdad, my aunt were all like army people. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It kind of like ran in the family, except for the younger generation, like, nah, we ain't for that.
You let them know it's not likely to happen with you?
No. And actually it's funny because at one time I was thinking about, like, when I was in high school, thinking about, like, maybe I should join the Air Force or the Navy. And I was just like, no, it's like still being a part of something like that. But then I was just like, no, it's not for me.
My grandfather was a naval officer, but I don't think it spanned much of the general family. Certainly no one after that. But yeah, I guess it is interesting. A lot of burlesquers are army brats, preachers' kids, and like children of somewhere in, I guess, in either the entertainment field or just outside of it, like the almost would-haves of the entertainment field. I find that interesting. I wonder if there's been like a socio-economic or sociological discussion on why that is. But I'm preacher's kid myself, so.
I feel like, there's a lot of, like, when we, like, figure out your upbringing, it was like, there's like the following theme of like army brat, preacher's kid, like, I think our childhoods being, because those ideologies are so constrictive. And
Generally
so,
speaking, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So there's something to rebel against, I suppose. I mean, I'm very lucky. I have extraordinarily progressive parents, and I was raised with like very Unitarian leanings and things like that. I mean, Protestant, but like just barely. And so they've always been really cool about my career in burlesque. Has your family been cool about what you've been up to?
It took a bit
Okay.
for them to like be on board with it, especially like when I first like announced, because like at the time I was like having a strange like relationship with my mother, and like my family, and like feeling like I was the black sheep, and obviously as the black sheep dude, I was like, I want to be a burlesque performer. You know, and so at first it was like, you know, burlesque performer. Was like, what is that? Like, how can a guy even be a burlesque performer? Like, my grandmother was really, really against it because obviously, like, super like Christian raised on my grandmother's side. She's like, only woman to be burlesque is, you know, like if guys gay. It was a lot for my grandmother. And my mom wasn't really cool about it because she thought like, you know, the ideology of what strippers are like, they're strung out on drugs and, you know, they drink a lot and
The CSI version of,
yes,
yeah.
Yes. And so that's what my mom thought it was gonna be, but like I explained to her, I'm like, no, it's not like
It's
that.
actually it's very glam.
Yeah.
And actually the funny thing is that for a lot of club strippers or career strippers, it's very glam for them too. So
yeah. I'm like, look, as far as I've been in this career, the only drug I can tell you that burlesquers be doing is rhinestones, okay? Like,
all that E6000.
E6000 and rhinestones. It'd be like, you got the looking glass I need. I need a what you got, a baggie, a small baggie? You got a gross? I need a gross. Can I have some now and pay back later? Like that's as far as I have seen really the extent of. So I was like, I'm good. Rhinestones is all I have to worry about.
I don't know. I've been around a lot with a lot of pot. There's been a lot of pot.
I mean, as far as my burlesque mom is the queen of green, I'd be like, yeah, we don't count that though.
You don't. Yeah, I know. That's like Advil. I know.
Yeah, we don't look at that. We're trying to legalize that. We don't think about that.
And of course, you also have the element of, I mean, conservative background not aside, you're also a queer black man. So that also probably adds a lot of extra layers to identity and all of that. As someone who is a queer person, but not obviously a black man, how is it right now to navigate? And I know we're in Corona time, so it's not quite present tense, but how is it to navigate in the scene as a queer black guy comparatively to what I would say is still very a predominantly white industry, at least marketing wise?
Yeah, a lot of it is like, because I've been doing burlesque for such a long time now, since like 2014, I want to say 14, 15. I need to keep better track of my history. Anyway, I feel like it's been different ways of trying to figure out like how to correctively market or brand, more so myself, in the light of like, you know, my identity as being a queer black man. Like, where do I play? Am I queer enough to be in this queer circle? Am I black enough to be in the black circle? You know, and also navigating like how do I get booked? Who do I, you know, at the beginning, like, who do I look up to get booked, or what shows should I be looking to get booked for? And so a lot of that was really difficult at first to navigate. If it wasn't for like Foxy and RedBone, I would probably be still struggling to this day. But yes,
Yeah.
I owe a lot of. I know if she ever hears this, she'll either bust into tears or she'll like yell at me on the phone.
Worth it.
It's worth it. No, I owe a lot of my success and well-being to where I am now to both Foxy and RedBone and her husband Aaron, as well as the rest of the burlesque community here in Minneapolis, but specifically those because they were the first people to really take interest in me as a performer when I first did their Nudie Newbie show in the first August that they did it, and mold me to be the performer that not only just the performer I am today, but also the human that I am today. I like tell people if it wasn't for like Foxy and Aaron, I would never have I would not be I wouldn't own a home. I wouldn't be traveling the world. I wouldn't burlesque in general has, and I gushed this last night to the court. So like now I feel like, oh, I'm gonna open this up again, and so like everybody can hear this around the world.
I appreciate your enthusiasm over my listener base. I can.
Yes. I like to say that burlesque has saved my life in a lot of ways, because without it, I don't know if I would, I'm sure I've probably been like homeless somewhere, because before the time that I was doing burlesque, I was renting rooms from friends or couch hopping for a while and with their friends and their moms, and was struggling to try to figure out like, where am I going to be, where I'm going to live, what I'm going to do with my life. Does my life even mean anything? Like, it was a lot of depressional spiral, and I had a lot of self-hate for myself until I found burlesque. And then I had a lot more self-love and respect for myself. And I always feel like burlesque called me to that art form, because I feel like not only did it know that I needed to be helped, but feel like that what I could do would be able to help others as well.
I mean, that's hopefully a lot of people realize that's, and in my time, and I've done about 100 some episodes of this, and I've met a lot of people over the years. That is like the quintessential story, is that a lot of people don't take into account that we're burlesque performers, yes, but that we are directly informed by our colleagues for good and for bad, and that well-meaning and nurturing community is essential to us being not only good performers, but good people, because it can really fuck us up. Because it is like any other entertainment field, I would think, there's a high and a big low from the stages and being backstage, and the loneliness and the traveling and the imposter syndrome and all that. So, and the drink tickets. So I think you throw all that in, and I mean, it's important to have a core and to find, I mean, people say find your tribe, find your family, find whatever. And sometimes you have to let those people go if it doesn't work out. So in your initial work with burlesque, how did you decide who you were as an entertainer? What aesthetic, what style, what music were you listening to? Like, what did you decide to paint yourself?
So it's funny because like with my aesthetic and style, I tend to have two styles, which one is more reflective of my real self, and one is more reflective of my stage self. So I'm really big. I really, really love nerdlesque because I'm a big nerd. And so like I grew up like watching like anime, reading mangas, playing video games, Sonic Adventure Battle 2, call out. And so I really, really like fell in love hard with nerdlesque because it was something that I could easily relate to. On the other hand, I'm very much like a sensual slow tease. I do a pretty good slow burn. And that leans more along of the line of me envisioning of like what sexy is for me to be thinking about. And because I grew up listening to 90s R&B, baby making music, and So a lot of the acts that I've done have been to songs that I have listened to growing up with are songs that I probably shouldn't have been listening to.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. That was what was on the radio. So we had, yeah.
I mean, it's the reason why my BOA number is to D'Angelo, because I remember like my mom like playing that in her like little red car that she had in on the stereo, and then like Maxwell, another an act that I have to that I won with the Noir pageant actually. It's another act because that was also like a part of my childhood, living in like with my aunt and my mom and my sister and my cousins and all like this one house, and having that song be played. So that's where I told her like kind of gravitate to, is really like sensual, slow burn.
Usually male singers?
Usually male singers. I'm trying to think.
Because I find in a lot of queer spaces, and I know that there's some like drag influence in there too. For me, there's always a diva. There's always going to be like, everyone has like a female superstar that they grew up with and like had posters on their wall. So mine is Madonna. But for a lot of people, it can be Britney or even going by Grace Jones or something like the Gaga is obviously for the kids.
I've never had so like as strict as a parent, like I never had anything hanging up on my wall. So that was like weird. So I never really got into the diva archetype hardcore. But I do have to be like, I do love the Bayhive. I do love me some Beyonce. But I'm like, there's some acts that are definitely sitting in my act book. Like there are some like songs to Beyonce that I'm like, I definitely want to like perform to this act, but I'm trying to craft it creatively, and like it's a precious baby. Like I want to make sure like once I get all the pieces together that this is going to work out.
You want to do it right. I get it. Do you think you're a perfectionist?
I feel like I'm a low-key perfectionist. So low-key in the sense that like I'm a perfectionist with myself. Like there's a whole bunch of stuff that I want to like do, but I don't put it out there yet until I'm for sure that it's going to be good. But also on the other hand, like I also don't want to like order people around. Like I want to manage myself and nobody else.
I think there's layers to perfection, and also being particular. You don't necessarily have to be rude. You can just be like hard on yourself, or you can or just very knowledgeable of what you need to put out there to be satisfied.
Yes, I'm like, I don't want to. My whole thing is like, especially like when I put out an act, even though I know like in my mind it needs to be workshopped, it needs to be done a million times, it needs to be rehearsed, I'm still like, I don't want to put anything out even like in its experimental stages on stage until it's polished. Because I'm like, there's just a lot of pressure to, be a queer Black man on stage to what, everybody watching burlesque thinking that burlesque is only for cis-identifying women, and realizing that burlesque is more, there's more encompasses than just gender on that spectrum. You don't have to be any one gender to be a burlesque performer.
But you oddly enough become like the ambassador of your style, like automatically. So I get the wanting to be as precise as possible, because for a lot of people, you're the only one they're going to see that looks like you.
Mm-hmm. Especially like if they're doing, if somebody's doing research and looking up like who are male burlesquers in like the world or Minneapolis, or what's going on, who is there people actually doing this. And so I'm like, I really want to have my work reflect what I'm doing correctly. Like I want it to be like I'm trying to create some like creative top tier art to be out there, so that when somebody sees it, they're not like, oh, this is horrible, this is terrible. Be like, oh my God, this is amazing. This guy looks like me. I can do this. I want to be a burlesque performer too. I want to perform and travel the world. Like, I just want to make sure that I do a good job, so that the representation falls off on the next generation when they look up and be like, I want to be like this person. I think I can be a great performer.
I find it really interesting that there's different kinds of burlesque performers that are very, not I don't want to say self-involved in a negative sense, but they're very concerned with themselves and making sure that they present the best of they have, and then going out there. And then there's also a side of burlesquers who cultivate and want to create entertainment art that not just appeals but inspires other people to do what they do and create a legacy. And obviously, one of the people that is one of the, I think, the number one search result for such a mentality is Perle Noire, is because she is, besides the fact of she's provides like this motherly figure for the court or for her family or for when the gems were performing, it's important to her spirit to provide that and to see the seeds grow. Do you connect with that on a level? Like, do you see that in yourself?
I do, and it's one of the things, as have been working with Perle, closely with Perle the last couple of months here. Perle has a certain aesthetic, which is the legacy aesthetic that you've mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And I never realized that my aesthetic was so similar on board with Perle's. Like her, obviously I feel like her aesthetic is on a much grander scale because she's Perle Noire. And I love it, and I adore it. But like, the more I work with her, the more I realize I understand what I've been trying to reach for is on the similar plane that Perle has been doing for years, and it's like, it is like, I want to leave like an astound legacy for people to be able to look back on, and know that I left something beautiful and miraculous behind for people, especially in burlesque, because it's such a political movement. It's about your body just in general, and loving your body and being comfortable, and so that's where like a lot of that mentality for me comes from, being like, yes, I do this, ensure that hopefully in the future that somebody else will pick up on that lesson. And like I've done that work enough for you already, so that it can help you move along quicker.
Mm-hmm. I think it's certainly daunting, but there are some performers who I feel are called upon to sort of be the shoulders in their communities that will like give you a leg up if you deserve it. Because I know Perle, who I've admittedly only shared brief moments with. I did have her on the pod at one point, and I've shared spaces with her. She will suffer no fools, and she wants you to be the greatest that you're capable of. And if you're not ready for that, you can call her when you're ready, because she doesn't have time for you necessarily right now.
Perle's not the play.
And it's funny because, and for some people that would be really, really intimidating, or and I understand that there's misogyny and racism that is incorporated a lot of times when it comes to finding someone like that intimidating. How is your relationship with her in terms of celebrating your similarities, skin tone wise, aesthetic wise, mentality wise? How do you connect with her on that level, but also know that she's tough?
That's like very interesting. I feel like I really appreciate that Perle is upfront about everything that she does. she, it's like 100% clarity. Like, I'm like, even if she's going to tell you something that you're not going to want to hear, she's going to let you know that this is what I'm going to tell you. And if that means if I have to be the bad guy for it, then so be it. And I love somebody who's that bold and honest about it. And so being able to work with Pearl I've been able to relate a lot more and understand a lot more about the business part of show business. And knowing that like Pearl can be tough for a lot of people to take, but when you really pull back those, like as I call them, pearls of wisdom, and really sit down and take time and reflect upon, you can really understand what she's trying to get to you. Like you said, like she wants every performer that she's mentored or even just talked to, she wants them to be the best that they can be all the time, because there's no growth in not being your best self at all. And she's all about growth and healing. Mm-hmm. And so having to be close to Pearl and being not only being able to relate on a spectrum of being two Black identifying bodies, mm-hmm. but also knowing the struggles that what a Black woman goes through and what a Black man goes through. I feel like we've been able to be really close and be able to talk and confer ideas, especially now, even after like winning the pageant. Because now I talk to Pearl not like as a, oh my God, it's Perle Noire, oh my God. I feel like I talk to her now as a more, a person more than just being a star-struck puppy burlesquer. Yeah. And being able to understand like the gift that she's given me is a lot for me to take in, but it's what I need. Mm-hmm. I need somebody that's going to be able to laugh and kick you with me, but also be like, I need to keep it real with you. Like, you know, there's a job that I'm expecting you to do and you're not doing it, and I need you to step up to the plate.
Because you deserve it. That's the thing, is that because she understands that your worth is tied to you doing your best. I get that.
Yeah. And so it's been great to have that type of support from Pearl, because I mean she does it like for all of her court members and her gems, because I'm like she believes in us so hard that she just wants to make sure that we believe in ourselves as the same, if not more, than she believes in us. And so that's why she's constantly working all the time for us. And it's just, it's a beautiful thing for somebody to be that devoted to the court, their mentees, for like the gems of the house, and being like, yeah, like I'm only going to get to where I am if I sit down and be able to listen to the hard truths. And because that's like, if you look at Pearl, that's where Pearl is now. Like there's a lot of hard truths that she had to face and deal with for her to become the performer that she's been today. And so now, like, you know, like she's giving that back. And, you know, not necessarily even just saying like the hard stuff, but she also is very encouraging about anything that, you know, we want to do, like she's in support of. And it's nice to have that.
PonyPod, a traveling performers podcast. If you like hearing from traveling performers, please subscribe and leave 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm your host, Miss Mary Jane Green, the Trouser Tent Teaser. You can find me on the main social media platforms or by joining my mailing list at missmaryjanegreen.com. In the immortal words of Jack Kerouac, nothing behind me, everything ahead of me, as is ever so on the road.
Bananarama?
Okay, all right.
A band?
Yeah.
Yes. As a pastor's kid growing up in the 90s, there was a lot of mainstream entertainment that I was sheltered from.
Stephen Root, he does one of the voices.
Okay.
You know him from News Radio.
Do I?
You know him from Office Space.
Do I?
You know...
Most things, really. So, now that I am an independent and out queer 30-something, I'm finally asking my friends to teach me about all the stuff I missed out on. Wait, Raffi did Beatles covers?
Yes, he did.
My mind is blown.
He did Octopus's Garden. And,
Yeah, I remember Octopus's
Yeah,
Garden.
no.
I didn't know that wasn't a Raffi original until just now. The Re-Education of Hazel Tart. Subscribe now.
Kevin Costner. He was so foxy.
I know the name, I don't know the face. I cannot... What is Kevin Costner? Can you just show me a picture of Kevin Costner's face, please?
Think of the guy,
This is hurting my
not
head.
Cheech Marin, but think of the other guy in Tin Cup.
I've never seen that.
Video games are a unique medium.
They can tell stories,
Immerse us in strange, fantastic worlds.
blur the very boundaries of our reality.
But at the end of the day, video games are fun. Whatever fun is to you.
I'm Jeff Moonen,
And I am Matt, aka Stormageddon.
and on Fun and Games, we talk about the history, trends, and community of video games.
It's a celebration of all the games we play and all the fun we find within them.
And there's so many more games out there, so we hope you'll share in that conversation with us.
Fun and Games podcast with Matt and Jeff. Find us on certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
And happy gaming.
Now you are a special figure in the world of New York burlesque because you were part of like the last big bang right before quarantine and things shut down, and that was the Noir pageant. Essentially, for a lot of folk, a burlesque can sort of be put in before and after the Noir pageant in terms of where we are, and you won. You are, now what is the official title?
I am the 2020 Noir King, 2020 Noir Pageant King of Burlesque. I shortened it down to be the Noir King of Burlesque. But
I think that's reasonable.
but the correct term is the 2020 Noir Pageant King of Burlesque.
And you got a sash and a crown and
sash,
applause.
I wish people could see this because it's right.
I have mine behind me. It's not noir, but it's Hollywood. And what was what were the moments that brought you to the pageant? What was how long did it take for you to prepare? How did you know what you were preparing? And when were you asked to be included?
So Perle had the application process was almost about 2 years, or at least they put it out in like 2018 for the applications were open, and then people submitted, and then they were accepted, and then once you had to accept, you had a whole year to prepare in 2019 to like upgrade your costume, choreography, the music, the whole 9 yards.
Did you submit with an act, or did you submit simply yourself?
With the act that was selected.
Sure.
I mean, there was like a whole year. Pearl, so like within that, like once you got accepted, and you had, and Pearl gave the year for everybody to get their life together, essentially. Pearl also offered each and every competitor, and I think performers, don't 100% quote me now, I just know for sure the competitors were offered a free one-on-one class with Pearl, to help them figure out, like choreography, or just talk through the process of your act, and what are some things you would like to happen in your act, or things the change, and just being able to have a reflection to hear back on that free I would say critique, but free assessment of our performances.
Sort of like a consultation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And taking that, and then after that point, whatever information you got from that consultation was for you to use at whatever discretion you wanted to use. And so it's grateful to really have that help going into a pageant as so big as the Noir pageant. And I think it was very much needed. And I do want to say, for people, like, it was free. It was like, this woman was offering her time. Like, this woman normally charged money for her time, and she gave it for free.
Yeah.
And that was such a beautiful thing to do, to help the performers do their best at the pageant.
And not just in I think a standard festival, it would be expected the acts that qualify for whatever reason are of a level and of a quality. And in this case, they were of a level and quality, but they also were the emphasis on potential, because if there still was things that you could work on, it seems to me that it's always like the strive for further greatness and further polishing. Is that fair to say?
I would say that's correct. There's always, you can always strive to do more, to do better. I always believe in the fact of, like, if you ever feel like you've done it all in burlesque, or that there's nothing more for you to learn from, then it's like, maybe you need to reevaluate your burlesque standpoint, because I'm like, I can't understand. I feel like, even like with Pearl, I feel like Pearl, like, she's still watching, she's still learning.
Mm-hmm.
Foxy is still learning. RedBone is still, like, all these, like, predominant figures that are in my life are constantly still educating themselves in this business, in this art form.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you need that to move forward, really.
What was the night like? What was that evening?
So, competition night. So I was the first night. So was that Saturday, or I want to say Friday?
Oh, you were Friday. For Kings was Friday.
And I was like, I have to go back in the memory bank.
I only know contextually because I've spoken to some of the people who did Queens.
Yeah. So Friday night, like, we got to the venue. It was amazing. Tech was amazing. Shout out. Okay. Jen Minsky, this is for you if you ever listen to this. You ever decide you want to leave your husband for me, I'm here for it. I'm waiting for you. I love you, Jen. Okay, so Jen Minsky is the most amazing stage manager in my life. I love Jen. She was on point. I think she made everybody feel comfortable. She made everybody feel like when they were on tech to do the stage, that their tech was going to be the best tech that they've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And Jen was very attentive, very loving, just want to make sure that everybody was going to do their best. And so Jen was keeping us happy while also keeping Perle and the venue happy. And so that was even just from tech, that was a beautiful standpoint. And so like getting in there, rolling the rest of the night, the gyms volunteered, and there were other volunteers, but I know specifically the gyms because I know them and I know like Pros Daily were helping out with so much stuff. They were running around, they were doing stuff, they were steaming people's costumes that night, and so that they wouldn't have to do it, so all they would have to focus on is just getting dressed and getting ready to perform. And it was so great to have that mentality space of not having to worry about certain little things. The atmosphere, the aesthetic was beautiful at the House of Yes.
Great venue.
Yes. Well, even like being there in the daylight, and then when the show actually it transformed.
Yeah. I did the Boylesque Festival there a bunch of years ago. Got to this point, geez, such a pretty venue. The bathrooms are gorgeous. Where can you go where you say that?
Yes. I was like, it was literally like, it was a different world from day to night. And that there was so much Perle had catering that was happening. Everybody was super, like, because of like all the stuff that was going on behind the scenes. I feel like everybody was in a really good mental space for the show. It seems like, to me that audience members out there, like I got to sit out and for most of the part of the show before I went to perform, and it was like they were living for this moment. It was like, this was like, and obviously because like COVID would happen, like this was the best moment, and which it was the best moment for anybody to be there at this show, because everybody, like, you could feel people feel like they were being transported to a different place, a place where there was no lockdown, no COVID that was going to happen.
But yet there was this impending awareness that it was coming.
Yeah, and we joked about this. It was like, this was the last big party that we took out of the parents' house to go do before we came back and got grounded. Like, because
it was Friday, Saturday. I'm pretty sure by Monday, Cuomo had made decisions. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, we were grounded. We had big fun, and then we were grounded. So it was just a great experience to have. It was such a beautiful experience, and then being on the stage and performing. And I just felt like I didn't feel the pressure, like I was, like feeling pressure like I've competed at Beehoff and felt that like, oh my God, this is such a big thing. It's like, I'm just gonna go out there and do a good job. I have nothing to really stress about. I'm just gonna go. It's gonna be great. I didn't have to worry about anything. Nox Falls was there. She's my sister. She's been a really good support system.
Yep.
Like, it was just really comfortable to be at this venue, to be at this pageant, to compete. And then like watching the beautiful artistry that was going on, it was beautifully curated. It was majestic. And then winning the thing, and then being like,
what was that moment?
And then being lit for the rest of the night. It was a wonderful experience to be a part of. Like, it was the best way to go out with a bang for 2020. For the last.
I know, it was basically the last.
The last event that I had ever got to do.
I mean, it's. I think again, it calls against the community and the community, not just as the people, but the community in terms of the atmosphere that Perle created for that venue, for that event, speaks to. I mean, as you said, people being there for you and having your back, and you feeling calm and collected enough to just go out there and do your thing. And when so many shows are just rush, 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 I think that's amazing that was able to be accomplished. And I think it's also interesting because I asked about like the divas or the women that a lot of queer guys especially gravitate to. You seem to have them in burlesque, because you've mentioned RedBone and Foxy and Pearl and Jen and Nox, and I'm like, you got there, you have them.
I mean, some of them might be on my wall right now.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
And you get to call them colleagues and friends, and I think that's even better than having a pop diva.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Oh, they've been these women have been a very big part of my life. A lot of I love them. I truly do. They've all helped me grow into the being that I am, the man that I am today, and it's really being a blessing to be a part. Even like in the midst of all the drama and stuff that goes on in the community, I'm still like, it's weird that I'm like, I wouldn't trade this for anything, because I've met some of the most amazing people, and they have touched me in ways that I never thought people could touch me before. And like my heart grows every time I see them or I meet even a new performer, and I'm so glad that I feel like that this is where my life was supposed to be.
Are you since you have so many siblings and parental figures in the scene, are you a parental figure for anybody, or do you see that for yourself?
I don't feel like I see that for myself. I'm not really a parental figure to anybody else. I feel like I still have a lot of learning and growing to do before I can really reach that until I know that I'm ready for that. So, I mean, like, honestly, I look at myself as like the little brother or the older brother in most situations. I definitely was the little annoying brother for RedBone at the beginning of my career. If anybody knows, I'm going to put it in the terms of I was Miles and RedBones was Moesha. And so that was probably the best aesthetic that I could put together for. But I feel like I've always landed more into that brotherly type of role, or that uncle, Thanksgiving, to be like, you need to act right over at this table. And so I really glad, but I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to be a parental figure yet.
I mean, it's not for necessarily everybody, but and again, if you, as you said, continue your trajectory of being a model and a figure in the scene for other people, you can sort of tangentially or be their inspiration, and you can have accidental adopted children,
I'm like, darn it, got a kid.
I'm curious, since you had this great rush of winning, and then that standstill of quarantine, what do you do to keep yourself enthusiastic and excited about moving forward with that acknowledgement that you have that title and that crown and that recognition after this? Like, what do you have to keep yourself pumped?
Honestly, because like sometimes it goes in waves with like I get happy and get sad about because of like, having won the title but not actually getting to do like the tour.
Yeah.
Or I didn't even really get to celebrate. Like I got it and came back home and I couldn't celebrate it with anybody. So that's been like a lot of emotional like struggles to be a part of. I was really sad about, but I've been really happy because it's been like, at least with the court, we gotten to be closer together, more like a family. So I'm really happy that that's been the greatest gift to fall out of quarantine 2020, because it's made me understand people in such a new light, in such a new way. I have a much deeper love for Chola and Kiki and Moscato, and even Crocodile Lightning as the Queen Ambassador, and recognize like they are amazing beings. The work that they are doing is amazing, and I'm so honored to be in this group with these wonderful humans. And so that's been like, I feel like my only real saving grace about not being able to really fully enjoy all the shiny bells and whistles that have come with the title, but I've been able to really connect with people on a deeper level.
You all
And
get
so,
together on calls and
yep.
regularly.
We have Zoom calls. We did like yesterday. We watched Moscato perform for the Virtual Hall of Fame, VHOF.
Mm-hmm.
So we all got together and to support Moscato and watch the show and drink and enjoy each other. And then ended up staying till up to 4 o'clock in the morning, just enjoying our company with each other. It was a beautiful experience, and it's hard to have experiences like that lately because of COVID-19. But it was I never thought that we'd be up to like 4 o'clock. Like it was so good. Like we wanted to hold on for so long because we knew like we all felt the same way about like our year's been gone, but we still want to do so much work and we still want to connect with each other so much and we still want to love each other so hard.
Yeah, there's an interesting separation that we all have to deal with because we don't have the backstages. A lot of times we think about the stages and the getting ready and the being out there, but there's all that backstage stuff too. And
yeah. I have to say, because I've done a few like social distance shows in an actual like venue setting. Like I've only done 2 of those, but the most of the stuff I've done at home. And comparing those two, I absolutely say like the most part that I miss the most is the backstage, like foolish fuckery that we do backstage. Because it's beautiful, it's fellowship, it's heartwarming. It's like even just like going out and performing on stage, I was like, no, nothing was like the backstage. Nothing was like the backstage at all.
How did the socially distant shows work? How did the dynamics of that come together?
So like the physical show, we did a all person of color show at the Hook and Ladder here in Minneapolis. And Kiki Boudreau helped with the production of that show. And so we didn't have an audience, but we all had our like plus one significant others.
Okay.
Were able to be our pseudo audience for us. But we all wore like masks and we all had like our own separate spaced out stations that we could be at. And we all had to wear our mask until we got up to perform. If we wanted to wear a mask then we could, or we could take it off then, but then after we got off stage put it back on. But we had plenty of like hand sanitizer, and everybody was really good about keeping their distance or wearing their masks. But it was just beautiful to really be backstage where everybody really cared about being there with everybody. And it was great. So then it was like, yeah, we did it, and it went live and then recorded. I don't know if it's still up now, but it was just nice to have that type of normalcy, even though it was a different normal, but it was similar to the normal that we were used to.
Yeah, it was a way of getting as close to a normal as possible.
I'm just making sure. I'm just like, promos coming through for the show. Okay, cool. All right.
Before I let you go, is there anything that you personally want to keep working on to make yourself, sort of the theme of this has sort of been personal growth and professional growth. Is there anything that you've got on your list, and how do you itemize, prioritize, and then do and keep yourself to task on what you want to work on?
And are we talking artistically or
the whole shebang if we feel like it, but mostly artistically?
Well, really, like one of my big themes lately is I've been trying to figure out respect for myself in the sense of giving and earning of respect. And so that's been a lot on my mind lately of getting people, so like with the noir pageant, getting people to respect it as close to as much as like the Beehoff title would be, because it was a really big moment for a ton of people of color, for Black, Asian, Latinx, trans, queer, like it was a really big thing. And I just want people to be very respectful of like the winners who won it, the performers who performed in it. And so that's been a thing on my mind, and also like a respect for me as an artist as well, especially in the sense of like respect with considering that burlesque performers are serious artists.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of places tend to like different art medias, different forms of artistic creativity always looks at burlesque as not an art form. Like it's the I think the term is like the redheaded stepchild of art. Like because we're taking off our clothes, that's all we're good at. There's no real artistry behind it. But yet we've constantly been making strides to be innovative in everything that we do with costume, choreography, music,
message,
yes, story. Like it's, we put so much thought to what we're going to produce artistically on stage, but then yet we get to come off from different scenes that, well, you're just too risque for us to book you to perform, because you're taking up, like, all you do is you take off your clothes. But I'm like, but a lot of us can perform without taking off our clothes, first of all. Like, so some of us are stunning just in general. But also I'm like, we've been doing this for years. We've been pioneering for years. Like, we need to be treated with respect just as much as a drag artist would, or a circus artist.
Or a painter or a sculptor.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, we are trying to also contribute to the history of art. Like, a lot of us make political statements about policing our bodies, of how society police our bodies, as well as long as like with Black Lives Matter movement. There's a lot of burlesque performers who have cultivated acts for those movement, but yet still can't get the recognition and the respect of being considered a legitimate artist. So like respect has been my big driving force lately. In that sense, since I'm not really, like, I'm doing a couple of virtual shows, but like obviously we're in the virtual world. Sometimes you'll have a lot of gigs and sometimes you won't have a lot of gigs. So right now I'm like, I have downtime because I don't have a lot of gigs right now. So I've been more focusing on a mental state versus a physical performance state. But every now and then, like, I'll like work on a costume that I really wanted to perform in, or like trying to teach myself how to sew to make, have a new skill set to push my art forward. But yeah, a lot of like most of it has been very much mental state and being like, I just want burlesquers to be respected as any other artist in the industry, in any industry would.
I mean, I think that's the long-term goal. I mean, that's something that can only be done with constant reinforcement and with dedication. And I think you're the guy to do it. And I think what you do is extraordinarily important, again, for your visibility and for your acknowledgement and self-acknowledgement of your self-worth as an artist and entertainer. I think too many times I crinkle my nose, and sometimes I just flat out just like I can't deal with it, where too many people downplay the work that goes into it, the energy that goes into it, and the spirit that goes into it. And it's fun. It's of course fun, but sometimes fun is supposed to be, you take your fun seriously. And I think you have what it takes to go ahead and be one of those ambassadors, and be because you seem extraordinarily level-headed, and I've only been able to work with you very briefly. I think we've only really had a chance to get to meet in Ohio, but I'm so glad that you're out there doing what you're doing, and I can't wait for all of the world to finally catch up to what we're doing, and us get out of quarantine, and us keep on doing the work. So thank you for sitting with me all this time. Is there anything that you want to tell the audience at home to look out for? Do you have anything long-term for the rest of the year?
A lot of stuff really on the calendar right now. So I'm waiting to, I guess, figure that out. I guess self-plug, I'm like getting my merch together, so I'm gonna
Please do, yes.
Get that out. So if anybody wants to follow me on Instagram,
yes,
and Twitter, I also have a website, which all of those you can look at. For my website is www.tredamarc.com. So
that'll all be in the footnotes of the episode. Great.
As well as my Instagram handle and Twitter are at Trè da Marc, easy to follow. And then I have a Halloween show, so that's like October 31st. That's going to be at the Hook and Ladder again, so it's another social distance show here in the city.
Do you already know what you're doing for that?
I have a couple of cosplay numbers. Okay. So like I have a Lando number and I have a Sub-Zero number, but I might try to kick out a new number.
Okay.
Nightmare Before Christmas, so we'll see.
Ooh.
Idea for that I've been wanting to try to get out. So if it
doesn't work for Halloween, you just wait till Christmas.
Oh yeah, that's the best part about it. I'm like, with a double whammy. I'm like, I can finally have a Christmas number and a Halloween number. I ain't gotta do nothing. And I know like the Noir pageant, we have a couple of stuff that we're trying to think about and plan about.
Right.
So keep a lookout for that soon as well. And then I feel like there's like one other thing that I'm blanking on right now. So I'm hoping like I don't forget. But other than that, that's where all I'm looking forward to the days where I can be back in person and travel, and hopefully, I don't know if you're still doing We Bar.
No, I'm off. White Elephant said we ended our residency right before quarantine, so I was able to get my thing together. But yeah, I'm now here more or less permanently in Riverside, California. So I will always come back to New York. I'll always come back to East Coast, and hopefully after all this, I'll make my way to places that I've been asked to come to Chicago. I've asked to come to Arizona. I'll add Minnesota to my list.
Yes. I mean, hopefully when the Minneapolis Burlesque Festival come back, please apply. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's a beautiful festival. Electric Sheep runs a high quality production. I'm looking to get back. I'm looking to get back into hopefully like performing with my Black Hearts family. So that's the show that I had a weekly gig here with, was Black Hearts Burlesque, which was produced by Electrocute Productions. And so I would hopefully look forward to having that back soon. But yeah, I'm really hoping that we could get through the fall and the winter without any more foolishness to happen. And
it's going to be interesting. I mean, no matter what happens, since it's an election year, it's going to be an interesting November.
Yes, that is very much true. It's going to be an interesting November, and December might be soul crushing for
But we'll get through it. We'll find a way.
There's enough Trulies in the world to help. I'm just saying.
Well, thank you again for sitting with me. Have an excellent rest of your day and evening, and whatever the rest of the week shall bring. And I'll stay in touch with you, and we'll keep doing what we're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Trey. I appreciate it.
Love from the Twin Titties.
Woo! I don't. Thank you so much.
No, it's good. You hit it right on the head. A lot of people don't get it that it's a pun on the word trademark until like.
I have to admit, I did not know that either. But I like a little sneaky.
Mm-hmm.
I was in a conversation with a bunch of folk who all had sort of punny names, and I was like, and everyone just sort of paused when they got to me, and I was like, oh, it's not. No, sorry. Don't look for it. I have no problem with that, but it just happens. Don't stress yourself.
There's no secret message, secret.
No, and even Devon, people have asked if it's like supposed to be like divine or something like. No, I don't know where it came from. Victor, I can tell you, Victor came from the book Frankenstein, the name of the.
Yes.
Yeah, but I did not plan Devon. I just needed a last name, so yeah.